You mentioned the debate earlier, and you have said, quote, Trump has just survived his second assassination attempt in one
Yes.
campaign. What did you see happen that night?
Well, it was an attempted political assassination that night. This wasn't an attempt at a debate. This wasn't an attempt at understanding what people were about or where they were coming from. President Trump would make a statement and he'd be interjected five times, either from the opposing candidate or from one of the two debate moderators. This was a gang hit that was conducted on him, and it almost goes without saying that the opportunity for someone to hold a debate and to present their vision for a way forward for the country, for a way forward for, again, all of the issues that we've been speaking about here. Are we going to be headed towards global hegemony? Are we going to be headed towards World War III? This conflict between the G7 and BRICS, will it spill out into a hotter war, which is clearly the side that Kamala Harris is aligned on, versus an idea that nation states can go back to being a collection of nation states and hold this one-on-one diplomacy, which is something that Donald Trump has been standing for his entire political career, even before his political career, where he's talked about the not only the strength that comes from NATO, but also the potential threat that comes from NATO expanding into regions across its borders and abutting against other countries' borders. And so those are serious security concerns. And yet you heard ABC not asking any of those questions. You heard and certainly the economy didn't even come up in the debate, barely once. There was one segment on it very quickly, which, by the way, the Democrats have realized this is a huge problem for them, because while they realized that, I think for a lot of the Democrats, I think for a lot of liberals, they had fun watching the debate. They had fun watching Donald Trump getting pummeled and fact checked and hit from all sides. But when it really comes down to it, they were just preaching to the choir, because if you're an undecided voter, again, go back to the calculus, 100,000 votes in 5 or 6 states is all we're really talking about here. And if you're someone who's on the fence, you've already made up your decision about whether or not you like Donald Trump or Kamala Harris. What you're looking for is typically those voters are the type of voters that vote on economic issues. To put it in more simple terms, they vote with their wallets. They vote with who they think is going to put more money in their pocket, who's going to bring more to the kitchen table, who's going to do more for their families. And unfortunately for them, Kamala Harris didn't talk about any of those things throughout this debate. She didn't like Trump. She didn't like his statement. She didn't like his character, et cetera, et cetera. But all of those things have been litigated in the press for over 10 years. What she didn't do was miss the opportunity to actually introduce herself to a national audience with 67 million people tuning in. It was the largest, I believe, event that she's ever done. It was the largest opportunity she had to really introduce herself as a candidate. And she didn't do that. She stood as the "I'm not Donald Trump" candidates. And unfortunately, I think we're starting to find that wasn't helpful for her with these undecided voters.
Yeah, I saw some poll that I think speaks to what you just mentioned, Jack, where it said something like, 5 or 7% of the people need to learn more about Donald Trump, where I was like 28% or something need to learn more about Harris in order to make a decision. And I don't think that's really compressed much. So like you said, there's still these people that really don't know what she stands for. And I guess you're saying that will really affect those crucial independent voters in those 6 counties that really matter.
Precisely, because if you're someone who really does care about the economy, you know that the economy right now, as you mentioned, is not doing well. It's certainly not doing well for those people. If you're someone in one of these towns that's been flooded by third world migrants, you're asking what relief is there for us, if any. And of course, by the way, you know that she is the current sitting incumbent. And one of the biggest missed opportunities, I think, even for the Democrats, and in my critique of their performance, that they didn't even acknowledge that she's the one in office. They didn't acknowledge that the person who was at the last debate is no longer here, that she is now in. There's no acknowledgement of why that happened. And I think that for a lot of those people who are imagine, if you will, you're someone who doesn't pay attention to politics every day. And I know people like you and me, and people listening to the show, we're like the 1% of the 1% when it comes to high information. But if you're someone out there who is a low information voter, okay, there's an election coming up, you've heard that Joe Biden isn't running anymore, you want to tune into the next debate, and you're confused. Why is this person running? She hasn't explained why she's running. What happened to the guy who was here on the last episode of the show? If you look at it that way, they're not there. You have no idea who this person is. And all you can seem to iterate from this video is that she doesn't like Donald Trump. Well, okay, fine. But what are you going to do for me? What are you going to do for my family? And the piece that resonates with you the most, of course, is the closing statements. Both closing statements have both been posted on TikTok by the opposing campaigns, Kamala Harris and Donald Trump's. Donald Trump's, I believe the last count I saw, has been viewed 10 times more than hers has. So it's absolutely viral. And what did he say? He said, if you could do all of these wonderful things, why haven't you done them already? Because you're in office right now. So you don't get to sit there and say you will promise all of these things when you get in office. You're in office. Your day one was 4 years ago. And that's an extremely effective campaign talking point, because you mentioned 2020 a minute ago. Look, I think people looking back on COVID, voters in general, and something that I've just found running through American politics, voters don't blame Donald Trump for COVID. They don't. They blame it on a lot of different things, but they don't necessarily blame it on him. They remember it was the governors that locked him down, not him. They remember it was the pharma companies that lied about the vaccines, not him. They remember that it was the Chinese Communist Party that created the Wuhan lab to begin with. And they remember that Anthony Fauci was the one who lied about providing the funding and the research for it. So they remember all of those things. And the other thing that they remember, by the way, was that when you take COVID out of the picture, things in the United States were actually going back on the right track. Prior to COVID, if you went back and looked at the polls in early 2020, late 2019, Donald Trump was a shoo-in for re-election, mostly predicated on the economy. And again, I've been quoting Democrats a lot today, and I'll quote another one, the great James Carville, all the way back in 1992. It's the economy, stupid. There are so many voters that just want a better economy, because that is the thing that, for right or wrong, when a politician in his office, and specifically presidents, that is the one who gets the accolades, gets the blame, gets credit or the blame for the state of the economy. If the economy is strong, you get reelected. If the economy is not, you don't get reelected.
I hope the American voters wake up and see it, because it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see that one of the candidates clearly favors, promoting the economy, from hiring Elon to cut all the fat out of the government, to not having a unrealized capital gains tax. I mean, I guess the average voter doesn't understand that, but if they could, it would shock them. I think it would make them vote right away for Trump. The way I would say you have to, the way you do it, explain. So when I first started working in politics, somebody once explained it to me like this. They said, the best political argument is one that you can make over a loud bar. So you've got to be able to make it someone in a loud bar. So if I say unrealized capital gains tax, that's not going to pass the bar test. But what would pass the bar test? She's going to tax you on money that you don't even have yet. She's going to tax you on money that you don't even have yet. What does that mean? That means that you've got a tax burden that effectively has no cap. It has no ceiling. So your tax burden then could come in on whatever the IRS says it is. And look, everybody kind of knows in the United States that you're already kind of playing a guessing game as it is when you go to the IRS, because you're never really sure exactly. And the accountant gives you a number and you file it and you hope that the IRS doesn't respond. Now, suddenly they're going to be looking to extract as many rents from you as they possibly can, exact as much tax revenue. And again, taxing you on money that you haven't even made yet is something that is an extremely effective way of getting that across.
Hey, I know investing in crypto is scary. It takes a real leap of faith because there are so many scams, rug pulls, and bad actors out there. It's a dangerous business, which is why 95% of people lose all their money. Well, that's why I created the London Real Investment Club, so you can access the hottest deals on the planet and use the crypto bull market to create the generational wealth that you deserve. Join my team of over 100 people from around the world that are making millions of dollars behind the scenes investing in blockchain, AI, Web3 games, DeFi, Bitcoin, and more. Don't miss out. Click the link below to book a call with one of my team now. But hurry, this bull market will end soon.
I know investing crypto can be scary. That's why you gotta join the investment club. Pull the trigger. Let's do this.